Hi, this is Big D. This channel's about some of the things I experienced in my life and stories that I have heard from other people. I studied parapsychology for about 5 years. Plus, throughout the years, I read a lot of books and watched a lot of documentaries and a lot of shows and everything just to try to figure out why things have happened to me, and then other people have not experienced anything like I have. To get started, I'm 62 years old. And so I'm going to go back to my earliest recollection of things that have happened to me. Probably roughly around 64, 65, somewhere in that neighborhood. A very young child I was. And we lived in this old house. And me and my brother shared a room. And we had bunk beds. And I was on the top bunk of the bunk bed. And so one night I was laying there, and there was these two dogs lunging towards me, growling and barking, and they had red eyes. This lasted several seconds, and they disappeared when I hollered out for my mom. Have any of you viewers ever experienced anything like this? I'd like to read your comments or even your thoughts or whatever you have about this. Through the books I read and some of the videos and shows that I watched about devil dogs and stuff like that, there's got to be something to it, you know? So I would really like to know if you ever experienced anything like that. Anyway, moving on. So a couple years later, now remember, this is all about the strange and unusual, paranormal, cryptozoology, UFOs, Bigfoots, all that good stuff. I was standing under a tree, and I was probably about 6, 7 years old, I want to say. And all of a sudden, I felt like I went into like a trance, I want to say, for just a few moments. And I had this wave of thoughts. And now, keep in mind, I didn't have any knowledge of any religion or anything like that at that age. And but this thought waves came over top of me, and it was like right at that moment I knew that the trees and the birds and the sky and all the animals and everything was all connected. Have any of you ever experienced anything like that at a young age, not having any spiritual knowledge? I would really like to know. Just leave your comments or questions below. That would be great. So anyway, moving on. Probably about 3 years later, it's probably around 10 years old, or roughly somewhere in that neighborhood. My grandmother, my mother, my sister, and myself, we all went to a lake. And this is in Ohio, by the way, back in the mid to late 60s, I want to say. And most of the roads were dirt roads and stuff back then, especially going up towards that lake, you know. So, anyway, we had sit there and we went swimming. We had a little picnic and stuff, and it was getting late, starting to get dark. And my grandmother was driving. She decided, well, let's go. And as we're driving down this country road, my mom says to my grandmother, see, it was dark at this time. She goes, I think you went the wrong way. We probably need to turn around and hit the main highway. And so, anyway, we pulled up into this driveway of a farmhouse. And the farmhouse probably set back about 1,000 feet, roughly. But when we pulled into the driveway, excuse me, we seen this glowing white pillar. And it's probably about 30, 40 feet away from us. So my grandmother drove closer to it. And all of a sudden, my mother started beating her hands on the dashboard, telling my grandmother to back up, back the fuck up. And I was sitting on the right side of the car at the time. Well, anyway, it was an apparition of a female, probably in her late teens, early 20s, I want to say, started moving towards the car. Now, I didn't know anything about ghosts or anything like that, at that time. Never even gave it much thought. And so, but I do remember she had like a dress on, I guess, or a nightgown maybe, you could faintly see it, but I remember it was like a bluish white pillar, but it was definitely a female that was moving towards the car. And just like a year or two back, I was talking to my sister, and she was telling me that other people experienced similar things in that area where we were when we went to that lake out in the country. Have any of you ever experienced anything like this? I would really like to know. So, moving forward a little bit, and we're in a different house a couple years later, and my bedroom was an old canning room where they stored the food and stuff at off the side of the kitchen. And one night I was laying there, and I seen a silhouette of a man standing at the foot of my bed. It didn't scare me. I thought maybe it was just a shadow or something. So I rolled off to my side and, closed my eyes. And I thought, well, let me take another look. So I rolled back over and looked, and it wasn't there. So sometime later, my mother was talking to the lady next door, which was an elderly lady, and she lived in that house for years and years. And she told my mother that there was a guy that was murdered in that house back in the 1930s, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, but that's it for now for my stories. I'll have more videos. I don't want to make these too long. And I want to thank you for watching, and make sure you hit the like button if you like me. And subscribe if you want, because I will be posting more videos. So thank you very much, and have a good day.